What's up, guys? Welcome to Trek Online this week. My name is Gordon and I'm your host, and I'm filling in for Heather for the next year while she's off on maternity leave. And in case you guys missed the news last week, she did have her baby, which is very exciting news. So tonight we're going to roll straight into things and start off with our trick shots. So take a look. Trick shots are always fun, and each week I look forward to what I'm going to do next. And if you guys have suggestions for me, please send them in. I'm starting to run out of ideas. If you guys have your own trick shots that you want to send in, whether you want to try bottle flipping as well, send them to this email address right here, and we'll put them in next week's video. All right. Now we're going to roll on to the next section of our night, which will be some songs. So get up on your feet and get ready to dance.
I wish the world had blinders on so nobody could see. Things that make us different are so minor, so petty. And there's major things that unite us and make us all the same, like the blood that's flowing deep inside our veins. We're one blood, we're one people. You can trace our family tree all the way through history, back to Adam, back to Eve. We're one blood, we're created in the image of our God, made to worship, made to love. We're one blood. Every language is the same when we laugh or cry. Let's look past our shade of skin. Let's retrain the eye. God created everyone, man, woman, boy, and girl. And we're just one big family in this tiny world. We're one blood, we're one people. You can trace our family tree all the way through history, back to Adam, back to Eve. We're one blood, we're created in the image of our God, made to worship, made to love. We're one blood. By His blood, we're His people. The cross became our family tree. Jesus came to set us free. The last Adam died for me. We're one blood, we're created in the image of our God, made with purpose, made to love. We're one blood, we're one blood, we're one people. You can trace our family tree all the way through history, back to Adam, back to Eve. We're one blood, we're created in the image of our God, made to worship, made to love. We're one blood, made to worship, made to love. We're one blood, made to worship, made to love. We're one blood.
time on someone else.
Yeah, come on.
Find a way to lend some help. Love your neighbor as yourself. Spend your time on someone else. L-O-V-E. God's love is like no other. L-O-V-E. Share it with one another. Come on, everyone. Reach out and love someone. L-O-V-E. We're gonna love each other.
Yeah.
Find a way to show some grace. Help your neighbor run the race. Put yourself in second place. Find a way to show some grace. Help your neighbor run the race. Put yourself in second place. L-O-V-E. God's love is like no other. L-O-V-E. Share it with one another. Come on, everyone. Reach out and love someone. L-O-V-E. We're gonna love each other.
Yeah. God loved us from the very start, and I got the love in my beating heart. And spread that love all across the earth, and tell everybody what His love is worth. Come on, so let God hear the praise from us. Yeah, and love people like the Savior does. Hey. And you ain't never gonna be the same when you L-O-V-E in Jesus' name. Yeah.
God's love is like no other.
Hey, hey.
We're gonna love each other. Come on, everyone. Reach out and love someone. We're gonna love each other. God's love is like no other. We're gonna love each other. Reach out and love someone. We're gonna love each other.
All right, that was some great singing, guys. So, over the last few weeks, I've been mentioning the Pine Car Derby, and here's a little more information for you guys. The kits will look something like this. Come with your blocks, your wheels, some nails there as well, and an instruction booklet to help you with whatever you need. So if you are interested in joining the Pine Car Derby this year, please send an email to this email address, and yeah, I'll get those kits out to you. I'm continuing to do the deliveries for those kits until the end of October, and then we just ask that once your car is completed, have it sent back in by the end of November. And then for the first 2 to 3 weeks of December, I will be doing the races here at the church. And yeah, we'll be having 2 different ways that you can potentially win. First is winning the race, having the fastest car going down the track. And the other is having the coolest design. So try and come up with something unique. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it. And we'll see you then. Welcome to Games with Gord. We're going to stick with the theme that we've been doing all along, which is pen and paper games. Super simple to do. It doesn't take a whole lot of time to set up, and they're lots of fun. So this week, we're going to play a game that most of you have probably heard of. It's just called Battleship. And if you have an actual Battleship board at home, it makes this whole process so much easier. You don't even need the pen and paper. You can just pull out the board game and go. But if you don't have the board game at home, this is how you can play it without the board game. So, as I stated, you'll need a piece of pen and paper. You'll start off by drawing a grid that is 10 by 10. So along the top, you'll go 1 to 10, and then down the side, you'll go A through J. And you'll need 2 of these per person. One piece of paper will be your ships and your opponent's guesses, and the other piece of paper will be your guesses and where your opponent's ships are. So for example, what I do is I have 2 different colored markers. I got a red and a blue. And on my piece of paper that has my ships, I color in where my ships are. Everybody gets 1 5-block ship, 1 4-block ship, 1 3-block ship, 2 2-block ships, and 2 1-block ship. So make sure you note that down. Yeah. Once you have your ships put on the board, it's easiest to just label it all. I put on the bottom my ships and my opponent's guesses so that when my opponent guesses, I can put a tick on the board where they've guessed so I know where they're guessing and if they've hit my ship. So, for example, if my opponent were to call out A3, I would go onto my board and cross out A3. And since it's a miss, we'll just do a slash. All right, just like that. Now, if they were to call out A8, which is where one of my ships are, I would put an X through that box to show that they hit it. All right. If they hit your ship, you have to let them know you hit my battleship. And if they hit all of the boxes in that ship, you have to say, you sunk my battleship. All right. Now, on the other side of things, when you're making guesses, it'll be the same thing, except it'll be a blank board. And I like to keep it the same. If, for example, I were to guess D3 and it was a miss, you just do the slash. And if I were to guess a G6 and it's a hit, you do an X. So it looks something like that. And you just keep going until you've sunk the other person's ships. Make sure you're honest about it. Don't cheat. And yeah, have lots of fun. Try and put a barrier between the two of you so you can't see each other's sheets, or play in opposite rooms and yell back and forth. That's another option. Or play back to back. So you each just call over your shoulder what you're going for. A couple different options on how you can play. Just don't look at the other people's page. It makes it more fun if you play honestly. Yeah. All right, so as per usual, I play through the game on my own to see if there's anything that I've missed rules-wise or anything confusing that I need to go back and amend. And this week there is one thing that makes the game a little easier, especially on your guessing page, and that's just filling in the ones that you've sunk. So when you sink a ship, just shade that box in. It makes it easier when you're tracking. So for like example up here, if it was just X's and surrounded by a bunch of slashes, it's hard to tell where those X's are. So like for example, if I had this 5 ship over here surrounded by a bunch of slashes. One moment. It's hard to tell specifically where the ship is. Whereas if you were to go through and shade it in, just gonna do a quick shading. It's not gonna look as great as my other ones do, but you just shade it in. It's a lot easier to tell that that's the 5 ship and you're not hunting for the 5 ship anymore. Just a little addition to make the game a little easier as you're tracking where your enemy ships are. And yeah, pause the video, play the game, have some fun. All right, see you guys. All right, guys, now it's time for Bible time. And over the last few weeks, we've been going through the series on the 10 Commandments, or God's Commandments. And you may think that sounds like a bunch of rules, but God's commandments are more like street signs, showing us the best way to go. And today, we're going to learn that we don't hurt others. And the street sign for No Pain Lane can remind us of that. So, take a look at our roadmap. I'll keep updating it each week, and eventually we'll have the full roadmap going on. Take a look. All right, so I grew up in a family with 3 sisters. I am the only boy in my family, and it was interesting at times. We definitely fought a lot. I mostly kept to myself and was quiet, played video games, and didn't stir up a whole lot of trouble. But living with sisters was a challenge at times. And having siblings or even cousins means that we have other kids in our family who we can play with. But sometimes it's very hard to get along with them. And we're going to look at 2 brothers in the Bible who had a hard time getting along. And we'll learn from them why we don't hurt others. Now, the Bible is God's special book where he can talk to us as we read and use his words to experience his peace when we're angry. Today we're learning about another one of God's commandments. At first, this one might not seem like much of a struggle for you. And we're going to turn in our Bibles to Exodus chapter 20. Exodus is the second book in the Bible. Genesis, then Exodus, and we're turning to chapter 20, verse 13. Do not murder. That's it. That's the commandment right there. Do not murder. And I'm going to guess that no one in this audience or whoever's viewing this video has ever murdered somebody. You might think this is a very easy commandment to follow. But we're going to look at a story in the Bible where someone killed his own brother. And we're going to see how it might actually relate to our lives as well. But first, let's see what led Cain toward murdering his brother Abel. We're going to turn to Genesis chapter 4. That's the first book in the Bible. Nice and easy to find. All right. Genesis chapter 4, we're going to read verses 1 to 4. Adam was intimate with his wife, Eve, and she conceived and gave birth to Cain. She said, I have had a male child with the Lord's help. Then she also gave birth to his brother Abel. Now Abel became a shepherd of flocks, but Cain worked the ground. In the course of time, Cain presented some of the land's produce as an offering to the Lord. And Abel also presented an offering, some of the firstborn of his flock, and their fat portions. The Lord had regard for Abel and his offering. So, from that, I want you guys to watch this quick video to recap what I just read and do a little more insight. All right, enjoy the video.
Adam and Eve had the first child ever to be born on earth after God's creation. When she gave birth to Cain, she said, with the Lord's help, I have produced a man. Later, she gave birth to his brother and named him Abel. When they grew up, Abel became a shepherd while Cain became a farmer. When it was time for the harvest, Cain presented some of his crops as a gift to the Lord. But Abel gave the Lord his best firstborn lamb. The Lord accepted Abel and his gift, but he did not accept Cain and his gift. This made Cain very angry. Why are you so angry? The Lord asked Cain. You will be accepted if you do what is right, but if you refuse to do what is right, then watch out. Sin is crouching at the door, eager to control you. One day Cain said to his brother, let's go out into the fields. While they were in the field, Cain attacked his brother and killed him. Afterward, the Lord asked Cain, where is your brother, Abel? I don't know, Cain responded. Am I my brother's keeper? The Lord said, what have you done? Listen, your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. Now you are cursed and banished from the ground, which has swallowed your brother's blood. No longer will the ground produce good crops for you, no matter how hard you work. From now on, you will be a homeless wanderer on the earth. Cain replied to the Lord, "My punishment is too great for me to bear. You have banished me from the land and from your presence. You have made me a homeless wanderer. Anyone who finds me will kill me." The Lord replied, "No, for I will give a sevenfold punishment to anyone who kills you." Then the Lord put a mark on Cain to warn anyone who might try to kill him. So Cain left the Lord's presence and settled in the land of Nod, east of Eden.
Both Cain and Abel gave an offering. Cain gave some of his crops, whereas Abel gave the best of his flock. Long before Cain murdered Abel, we see a problem with Cain's heart. He wasn't giving his best to God. And from there, Cain's heart got worse. We're going to read verse 5. But he did not have regard for Cain and his offering. Cain was furious, and he looked despondent. Even though Cain was the one choosing not to give his best offering, he was angry that God liked Abel's offering better, and maybe even felt a little jealous. And it was obvious. God could see it on his face. And as we continue reading, verses 6 to 7, then the Lord said to Cain, "Why are you furious, and why do you look despondent? If you do what is right, won't you be accepted? But if you do not do what is right, sin is crouching at the door. Its desires for you, but you must rule over it." In this verse here, God warned Cain. God could see that Cain's heart was getting closer and closer to Cain hurting his brother. And we don't want to hurt other people, but our negative attitude can lead us to hurting others. And before we see what Cain did next, let's think about other steps we might go through that get us closer to hurting somebody. Take a moment, discuss what might bring you to the point where you want to hurt somebody. So some steps that we may go through on the path to potentially hurting somebody is, step 1, we might think about saying something mean to somebody. Step 2, we might actually say something mean to somebody. Step 3, we might wish that they get hurt. Step 4, we might think about hurting someone ourselves. Step 5, we may actually hurt them. And as we read in Genesis chapter 4, verse 8, Cain said to his brother Abel, "Let's go out to the field." And while they were there in the field, Cain attacked his brother Abel and killed him. So Cain killed Abel. But this didn't come out of nowhere. Cain did one thing at a time that got him closer to hurting someone else, even when God warned him to check his heart. Cain kept on letting his heart get worse and worse. And you may have never killed anyone, but I bet you've done at least one of these things before, where you're even thinking about hurting somebody or thinking about saying something hurtful. Another way to think of this commandment is we don't hurt others. In fact, Jesus put it this way in Matthew. Matthew is the first book in the New Testament, which is about 3/4 of the way into the Bible. There we go. Matthew chapter 5. We're going to look at verses 21 to 22. "You have heard that it was said to our ancestors, 'Do not murder,' and whoever murders will be subject to judgment. But I tell you, everyone who is angry with his brother will be subject to judgment, and whoever says to his brother, 'Fool,' will be subject to the Sanhedrin. But whoever says, 'You moron,' will be subject to hellfire." Based on Jesus' definition, have you broken this commandment? You see, murdering isn't just killing somebody. The path to murder begins with a heart that's not committed to God, and it heads towards anger, toward thinking mean things, and toward saying mean things, toward physically hurting somebody. So I want you guys to take a moment. Talk to God silently about where your heart is. Unlike Cain, we don't have to keep going further and further along toward hurting others. Maybe you aren't giving God your best. Maybe you're angry. Maybe you've thought mean things or said mean things to others. Get your heart right with God right now. Ask Him to help you go back to the beginning and give Him your best. Ask Him for help so you don't hurt others. And ask Him to help you value other people. Pause the video, take a moment, pray that God can give you this peace and help you to avoid being angry and, that you don't get to the point where you want to hurt other people. So, when Cain killed Abel, that wasn't quite the end of the story. As we turn back to Genesis chapter 4, we'll read verses 9 to 13. Then the Lord said to Cain, "Where is your brother Abel?" "I don't know," he replied. "Am I my brother's guardian?" Then he said, "What have you done? Your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. So now you are cursed, alienated from the ground that it opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood that you have shed. If you work the ground, it will never again give you its yield. You will be a restless wanderer on the earth." But Cain answered the Lord, "My punishment is too great to bear." God knew what Cain had done, and he was not happy. Think about it this way. God made Abel, and Cain destroyed Abel. It would be like if you made something and your brother or sister came along and destroyed it. Obviously, that would make you super angry and make you want to hurt them. And this is how God felt when Cain destroyed his creation, Abel. God made everyone, even the people that we get angry with. And we need to be respectful to the people that God made. We need to be careful that we don't hurt others, physically or in their hearts. The next time you start to head toward anger or negative thoughts about somebody, ask God to help you see the good that He made in that person. Okay, so today we're learning that we don't hurt others. But what about when people make us really mad? Have you ever tried to bottle up your anger so you don't hurt someone? It can feel something like this.
You ready? 1, 2, 3.
Oh my. I can feel the pressure building.
Shake it, shake it.
So scared it's going to shoot back at me.
Well, don't aim it at you.
Oh. The bottle is very firm.
That's no good. Come on.
Here it goes.
Oh, come on. Break. I think we need a cork. Oh!
Wow! When someone makes you mad, bottling up your anger can make you feel like you're going to explode. And like our bottle, you eventually will explode. So, what are good ways to respond when you feel mad? We're going to dig into that. So, we're going to take our handy dandy Bibles and we're going to turn to Ephesians chapter 4 and verse 26 to 27. Ephesians is in the New Testament. right after the book of Galatians, which is kind of halfway through the New Testament. Ephesians chapter 4, 26 to 27. Be angry and do not sin. Don't let the sun go down on your anger, and don't give the devil an opportunity. Notice that this verse doesn't say feeling angry is a sin. Listen again to what it does say. Be angry and do not sin. Don't let the sun go down on your anger, and don't give the devil an opportunity. So, I want you to discuss, what does this verse tell you about anger? And would you say the anger in our bottle controlled it? It's okay to feel angry, but it's not okay to let anger control us or the way that we treat others. So when you feel mad, admit to yourself and God that you do feel that way. And that's the first step in moving on. But then there's more to do. And we're going to turn to another passage in our Bibles. This is found in Colossians chapter 3, verse 13. Now, Colossians is just a bit further than Ephesians. Not too far, though. Right after the book of Philippians. I'm reading Colossians chapter 3, verse 13. All right. Accepting one another and forgiving one another, if anyone has a complaint against another, just as the Lord has forgiven you, so you must also forgive. Why is forgiveness an important step in handling your anger? When we don't forgive others, it's like we're replaying the event that made us mad over and over again. And that makes us feel mad over and over again. But when we forgive, it's like you're opening the top of that bottle and letting out the pressure. And if you were to do this at home, you would hear like a hissing sound. Kind of like when you open a pop bottle that's been shaken. It releases all the pressure, and that's kind of what we need to do when we forgive others. We relieve that pressure that anger has built up inside of us. When we forgive, we clear the air and stop letting the anger we have power over us. And then we can start to refocus on other things. We can do what the Bible says and capture rebellious thoughts. And that means noticing and stopping ourselves when we're thinking about things that we shouldn't. And again, turn to the Bible. This time we're going to 2 Corinthians, which is back a bit from Galatians and Ephesians. 2 Corinthians chapter 10. Aha. 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 5. Every high-minded thing that is raised up against the knowledge of God, taking every thought captive to obey Christ. What could you think about to help you refocus your thoughts when you're angry? Whenever I'm angry, I like to think about things that make me happy in life. I like to think about my daughter. She brings me a smile whenever I think about her. I like to think about the friends that I have or the games that I enjoy playing. The way that you overcome your anger is by thinking about things that make you not angry. And you try and refocus your thoughts. So, when we keep thinking about the event that made us mad, we're just making it bubble up over and over again. Instead of letting our anger bubble up inside of us, we can capture all our angry thoughts and make them obedient to Jesus. And then we can ask for God's peace. And we're going to turn to Scripture one more time. And this time we're going to Philippians chapter 4. Philippians is a little bit later, right after the book of Ephesians. Philippians chapter 4, verses 6 to 7. Don't worry about anything, but in everything, through prayer and petition with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses every thought, will guard your hearts and minds in Jesus Christ. When God brings us peace, he can take care of any anger that we feel. So let's do a little review here. When we feel angry, we can acknowledge that we're angry. We can choose to forgive and do things that help us refocus our thoughts and ask for God's peace. By doing that, we won't let the anger control us the way Cain's anger controlled him. And we don't have to bottle up our anger. But with God's help, we can let it go so we don't hurt others. We can find ways to help us stay balanced and not lose control in our lives too. And they can be tools that we can use when we're feeling out of control so we can just calm down. What are ways that you can calm down? For me, I put on some soft music, maybe some instrumental, maybe even listen to the sound of waves. They tend to calm me down. Go and just be away from people. There's many different things that they can calm you down. So what calms you down? The next time you're feeling upset and out of control or angry, use one of your calming tools. If you've never tried talking to God when you're upset, give it a try. God can help us calm down so we don't hurt others with our words or even our actions. That wraps up our Bible time for today. So as we close in prayer here, bow your heads and we're going to pray to God. All right. Hey God, thank you for the amazing days that you give us and the blessings that you give us in life. You are just such an amazing God. God, I pray that as we go through our everyday lives, that you remind us not to feel angry and to try and find that peace. But even if we do feel angry, we know that we have you to give us that peaceful reassurance and that you can help us through any situation. God, allow us to maintain the balance in our lives and that we don't bubble up and boil over and that anger doesn't spill out. God, I pray that you continue to keep us recentered on you. Pray this in your name. Amen. All right, so that wraps up our night. I hope you guys have had lots of fun discussing the 10 Commandments. Come back next week and we'll keep going with that series. And yeah, have a great week. Spend time with your families. Enjoy the bloopers. Right, so goofed it. All right, so as usually, shoot, this is out of order. And don't let the devil, back to that. It's like we're repaying. Instead of letting our anger go, led Cain toward murder. Why don't you... So, some... Scratch it. Nope. Yikes. Ugh. Okay. Back. But I bet you. So, when Cain killed Abel, that was. So, when Cain killed Abel, that what? Mom, my goodness, I can't say this word. Tell me about a time. You can't tell me. You're through a screen. Oh.
I am covered in vinegar. Yeah, I would think. I don't know, I'm surprised it didn't explode. Woohoo! That was awesome. Where's the coffee filter? I don't know. Oh, what's this?